Coffee feels like one of those things that has always existed and always will. You wake up as a zombie, you drink it, and then you become slightly more emotionally available to the world. Slightly. It's a ritual that most of us share, but the future of coffee is starting to look weird. Coffee grown in labs, coffee made without coffee beans, rare, forgotten species coming back from the dead, and your morning cup maybe being made from date pits, chickpeas, or plant cells floating in a bioreactor. This is happening because the coffee we know is surprisingly fragile. More fragile than it feels when it's sitting in a bag at the grocery store with a hipster-style label with a mountain on it. Most of the coffee people drink comes from two species, arabica and robusta. Arabica is the fancy one. It's smoother, more complex, more delicate, and generally preferred in specialty coffee. Robusta is stronger, more bitter, higher in caffeine, and usually considered less posh. But Arabica has one major flaw. It's picky. It likes specific temperatures, specific elevations, specific growing conditions. Arabica is basically the plant version of Brian Johnson, and these picky conditions are becoming a problem. Coffee grows in what's often called the bean belt, a band of tropical regions around the equator, places like Brazil, Colombia, Ethiopia, Vietnam, and many others. These are the regions where coffee has historically had the right balance of altitude, warmth, rain, and soil. But as climate change occurs, those ideal coffee growing areas are shifting. Some places are getting too hot, too dry, some are getting hit by more extreme weather. And when coffee plants are stressed, they can produce lower yields, lower quality, or become more vulnerable to pests and diseases. This is why some coffee farmers are already moving higher up mountains. Higher elevation usually means cooler temperatures. So the logic is simple. If the climate is warming, move the coffee uphill. But moving farms uphill can also mean clearing new land, disrupting ecosystems, changing communities, and pushing agriculture into places that weren't previously used for coffee. So even the most obvious adaptation comes with its own problems. And this is where the future of coffee starts splitting into several concerning directions. One future isn't replacing coffee, but changing which type of coffee we grow. Robusta is gaining attention because it can handle warmer conditions better than Arabica in some regions. And it's already widely grown. It also has more caffeine, which some people see as a benefit, but others might see as a cup of anxiety. But scientists are also looking beyond Arabica and Robusta entirely. There are more than 120 known species of coffee. One of the most interesting is Coffea stenophila, a wild coffee species from West Africa. It was once cultivated, but then mostly disappeared from commercial production. And for a while, scientists weren't even sure how many of these plants were left in the wild. Then researchers found it again, tested it, and found something intriguing. It seems to tolerate higher temperatures than Arabica while having a taste profile similar to Arabica. So one version of the future is possibly a more diverse coffee world. More species, more hybrids. Another future is coffee without beans. A few startups are making beanless coffee, which is meant to taste like coffee, but without coffee beans themselves. Instead, companies are using ingredients like date seeds, chickpeas, sunflower seeds, grape skins, chicory, and other plant-based materials. They roast and process these ingredients to recreate the flavors and aromas people associate with coffee. Beanless coffee companies argue that their products could reduce pressure on land, water, and forests. Coffee farming can be linked to deforestation in some regions, especially as growers search for cooler and more suitable land. So if you can recreate coffee flavor from upcycled ingredients, the idea is that you could reduce some of the environmental pressure while still giving people their daily cup. Of course, convincing coffee people to drink bean water with no beans is not going to be easy. These are not people who are going to casually accept chickpea espresso. Still, This is already moving from idea to product. Beanless coffee has been served in cafes, tested by food companies, and marketed as a climate-friendly alternative or blend. It may not replace traditional coffee anytime soon, but it might become part of the supply chain, especially if real coffee becomes more expensive or less reliable. And then there's lab-grown coffee. Scientists are growing coffee plant cells in a lab. Researchers at VTT in Finland have shown that coffee cells can be grown in bioreactors, then harvested, roasted, and brewed. In other words, the coffee comes from coffee cells, but not from coffee farms in the traditional sense. More like a sci-fi coffee farm. The appeal is obvious. Lab-grown coffee, in theory, could be produced with less dependency on climate, land, and long global supply chains. It could also allow more control over flavor and consistency. Instead of waiting for weather, harvests, shipping routes, and crop diseases, you grow the cells in a tank, which sounds efficient, but it also sounds unsettling. Because coffee isn't just a chemical beverage. It has feelings attached to it. Mountains, farms, beans drying in the sun, tiny cafes with one exposed brick wall, selling lattes for way too much. Coffee is weirdly aesthetic. A bioreactor doesn't have the same vibe. Nobody wants to hear, today's single origin comes from tank 4. But that's the tension in the future of coffee. The old version has beauty, culture, and history. The new version has resilience, efficiency, and climate control. But the future won't be one or the other. It'll likely be a combination of both. Traditional coffee will likely always exist. People love it too much. Farmers depend on it. Whole cultures and economies are built around it. But the coffee aisle may get more diverse. The future of coffee may look less like one thing and more like a menu of compromises. But don't panic. Food has always changed. The banana most people eat today is not the same banana people ate a century ago. Modern wheat isn't ancient wheat. Corn went from being a small wild grass to the giant yellow carb stick we know and respect today. People are constantly reshaping plants around our needs and then acting surprised when these plants need some maintenance. Liked what your weird brain just learned? Hit subscribe. If not, that's okay. I'll just be here emotionally preparing for chickpea espresso, which feels like a personal growth opportunity that I definitely didn't ask for.